Our severe thunderstorm threat is increasing, especially by early next week. Hey, I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Walks. Ready for a deep dive? All right, let's get into it. First, I want to show you the severe weather outlooks here, and this is a comparison of three different outlooks. CIPS, or the Cooperative Institute for Precipitation Systems, that's the one on the left. And then in the middle, we have Colorado State University, and on the right, which you're probably more used to seeing, is the Storm Prediction Center, which issues those official outlooks. So this is starting on Sunday. That's the top row. Then you have Monday and then Tuesday, which I'll show you here in just a moment. But you'll notice that middle one, that's Colorado State, already showing a bit of a risk for us on Sunday. Then as we look into Monday, you can see how really area-wide our risk is increasing, but especially that CSU model. And now I'll zoom you down to Tuesday, because you can see here how it really begins to increase. So in fact, let me show you both a couple things. We'll kind of zoom into all of them here. Here's the first one for you, and this is the CIPS model, and that's actually the wrong one there. Let me try that one. This is the Tuesday one, and that is showing an increased risk, especially across northern Illinois there. Then you look at the CSU model that really highlights us here in southern Wisconsin, again, for the greatest severe weather probability, and the official Storm Prediction Center outlook has us under a risk on Tuesday. Now, let's break this all down here, because I want to show you kind of what this all means. And you know, I like my science, right? So we're going to dive into this here scientifically, because I think there is a risk Sunday, there is a risk Monday, there is a risk Tuesday, and potentially even into Wednesday, depending on when the cold front crosses. All right, so now we're going to dive into the science of this. What you are looking at here is one computer model, and this is showing essentially the storm systems, or the perturbations in the atmosphere, at about 18,000 feet that could lift the air up. Okay, so that's why we look for storm systems at this level, because it can cause the air to converge, rise, and form thunderstorms. Okay, so I'm going to take you starting on Saturday night. Now, here is midnight, late Saturday night here, to 1 o'clock in the morning, early Sunday. And if you'll notice right here, you can see some of these colors. And what that's indicative of is a little storm system. And what that means at the surface is we're going to start to see warmer air coming in. And that's going to lead to a chance for showers and thunderstorms Saturday night. I think the instability here is going to stay to our west, so I'm not concerned for severe weather Saturday night. In fact, it might just be some rain. Now, on Sunday, you'll notice some of those colors coming over us here, and that could provide us with some lift. And that's a big question mark right now, is going to be, do we have a triggering mechanism, as it's known, on Sunday? Do we have something to lift the air up? It's going to start to get warm and humid and windy on Sunday, highs in the 70s. But the question is, will there be a triggering mechanism to lift that air up? And we'll take a look at more of the convective parameters here, the severe weather specific parameters, in just a moment. But now let's go into Monday, because as we go into Monday, at least what you'll notice here is there's not a whole lot over us from a storm system standpoint. So that's another question, is going to be the triggering mechanism on Monday. Is there going to be enough to lift the air up? If there is, I think we're going to have enough of an unstable atmosphere. So that's, again, going to be an issue there. Now I'm going to switch you over to a longer term model here. This is our American model, what's known as the GFS. And we'll flip you over to this just to kind of go into Tuesday. I want to kind of extend this a little bit out here for you. And what we'll do is we're going to go into the Tuesday time frame with this, and you'll be able to see. So here's just a little reminder. Here's Monday, right? Now look at Tuesday. You see the storm system kicking out of the Rocky Mountains? That's the main lift here. This is why everyone's talking Tuesday when it comes to severe weather, because the dynamics in the atmosphere are going to be better. The lift is going to be better here with this storm system, I think, especially for us later on Tuesday, possibly lingering into Wednesday, depending on the speed of this. Now, let me take you upstairs to the jet stream level, because here's another atmospheric dynamic lesson for you here. Let's start out on Sunday. Now, what you want to look for are the darker colors here, more of the reds. We don't have an overly strong jet over us on Sunday. Again, the jet stream also lifts the air up. So you're talking about rising air and lifting here. Now, we go into Monday. It's not bad, but it's not great, right? But watch Tuesday. Look at this, Tuesday night. See what I mean? Look at these strong jet stream winds coming in out of the southwest. So that's why, again, everyone is talking Tuesday as being the greatest risk for severe weather, because these dynamics are at their highest. We have the jet stream favorability. We have a storm system kicking off of the Rocky Mountains. So that's the broad view, okay, of the severe weather standpoint of this. Now let's dive a little bit deeper, and I will show you a couple more things here. Before we get into the convective properties, I want to show you just kind of what this looks like. I may have to straighten this out here for you a little bit. This is what the surface fronts will look like. So instead of showing you 18,000 feet, we're going to go down to the surface with what you're used to seeing, right? Warm fronts and cold fronts. So Sunday morning, warm front comes through. We warm up, and this is showing a chance for showers and thunderstorms over us as well. But see, on Sunday, outside of that warm front pushing through in the morning, you don't have a surface front. That's also what I mean by a triggering mechanism, something to lift the unstable air up, right? We don't necessarily have that. So that's why Sunday is a bit in question severe weather-wise. Monday, okay, now we have a front, but look, it's up to the north. So what that would mean is, and the European model is showing this, on Monday is the potential for storms to develop maybe along this front and then move into southeastern Wisconsin. So we'll have to watch for that. Tuesday, this is Tuesday morning. This is Wednesday morning. The cold front itself is going to come in sometime late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, most likely, and that's going to, again, align with the jet stream and align with that lift, the atmospheric dynamics, to provide the best, the greatest, if you will, risk for severe thunderstorms. So again, that takes you back down to the surface. This is why we're under a risk in southern Wisconsin on Tuesday and not so much on Monday or Sunday at this point. Now you have the broad view, and we're not even into the nitty-gritty of this yet, right? So now let's talk about the convective part of this, or how unstable will our atmosphere be. All right, you ready for this part of the lesson? All right, so let's take a look at this. So now I'm going to go back to the model that we were at before here, which is going to be one of our shorter term models. Let me readjust this again for you. All right, so what we're going to look at here is what we call our most unstable CAPE product, or convective available potential energy. Basically, the darker the colors here, the more unstable the atmosphere. This is Saturday night. It's all off to our west, right? So this is why I really don't think we're going to have much in the way of thunderstorms. I'm not overly concerned about thunderstorms. The atmosphere is just not going to be primed for it. We might have a rumble or two, but nothing crazy. Now we get into Sunday, and you can see it's nothing overly strong, but it's there. And what I should mention here is part of the driver here is the warm-up. And when temperatures warm up, what happens? Well, warm air rises, right? And so that's why we tend to get thunderstorms on warmer, more humid days, right? So that's going to increase this CAPE, or convective available potential energy. Now I'm going to make your head spin, and I'll try to explain this as clearly as I can. And this is something that you don't have to pay too much attention to most of this, but I want to draw your attention to the winds here. So this is an atmospheric sounding, meaning that if you were to go up in the atmosphere, think about what a weather balloon would catch, going straight up, okay? And this is showing winds kind of veering with height a little bit here. So the wind shear is, the winds are getting stronger with height and veering a little bit. So that could be favorable for severe weather if we were to get it. Now, it doesn't look overly great from an atmospheric standpoint, but it is possible. Bottom line is this: Sunday is possible to see some strong storms, but I think they'd be few and far between. In that we don't have much of a triggering mechanism. The atmosphere looks just okay, but it's one of those to kind of watch. But I would say that's probably lowest on the concern list for severe weather. But it's possible, again, given that we warm up, if we popped a storm or two, you might get a strong one, especially given that there is some decent wind shear there. Okay, so that is Sunday. Now let's go into Monday, because see what I mean? Look at Monday here. See how those colors get a lot better. And what that's indicative of is a more unstable environment. All right, so now we're going to go back to these atmospheric soundings. And what you'll notice here, the wind shear looks even better to me here. And boy, does this is kind of a classic severe weather sounding here, meaning the red line is temperature as you go up, the green line is dew point, and you get that mid-level or really low to mid-level dry air. And that's a very classic severe weather sounding. So this is much more favorable. Surface-based CAPE is getting close to 2,000. This is definitely more concerning, and I'll pan this over. The model also generates a potential hazard type that you can see right here, and notice how it says weak tornado there. And so that's basically just picking up on the fact that the wind shear, that everything is kind of lining up here for a better risk for severe weather on Monday. But again, the question here is going to be, do we have a triggering mechanism on Monday? Looking unlikely. So we could just be unstable, warm, humid day and not pop any thunderstorms. But if storms were to pop, well, we could get wind, hail, or tornadoes. Okay, so again, here's how I would put this now. Sunday, the risk is not zero, but it's low. Monday, the risk is greater, given that we have a more unstable atmosphere, but we still don't have that triggering mechanism, something to fire up those storms like a big cold front, jet stream over us, that sort of thing, okay? I haven't even shown you, by the way, the model forecast for precipitation. That I'm saving until the end here. All right, so now let's go over to the longer-term model that'll take us out to Tuesday. And we'll show you the CAPE there. And I'm showing you what's called the most unstable CAPE just because it's kind of easier visually to see. We could dive into this more, but so hang on a minute here. So this is Monday. Let me go back to Monday. There's Mondays, okay? Now let's go into Tuesday. Right there. See what I mean? It's even higher. So now let's take a look at the atmospheric sounding in the vertical. See what that's going to show us. And you'll notice here, okay, now we have surface-based CAPE of over 2,000. The wind shear still looks great. You get that drying in the mid-levels, and you'll notice that now the potential hazard type there is tornado. Again, and look at the winds higher up. Right over here, those are your jet stream winds. Remember how we looked at that earlier and how the jet stream is going to be strong? So the dynamics are much better on Tuesday than they are any other day at this point. All right, so now I'm going to take you back again. Let's go back to, I'm going to draw this out a little bit here. This is going to be our shorter term model showing you the precipitation. So basically what we're doing here is we're going to put it all together. And I know this has been long. Thank you for sticking with me on this. But I think it's really important to peel back the layers, because we could say, oh, there's a risk for severe thunderstorms. But what does that really mean? What do we really look at? And that's my goal here, is that we can look at it together, because there's so many folks who are weather anxious, right? You hear the term severe weather, you get anxious. And I 100% get that. And so that's why I really want to take the time to peel back the layers for you here. So this is just looking at the surface precipitation, which ironically we look at last when we forecast. We've got to see what's going on above us before we can see what's going on at the surface. So here's Saturday night. You can see rain coming through. I doubt we're going to get much in the way of thunder. This is the warmer air coming in, okay? Remember, we have the warm front coming in early Sunday morning. Now we have Sunday, showing a few rain showers, maybe a rumble of thunder Sunday morning. And then Sunday afternoon, just a stray storm or two. It's not showing anything strong. at this point. But again, as we saw, the atmosphere is going to start to destabilize, so it's not 100% out of the question. By the way, southeastern Wisconsin is right here. Sometimes it might be a little difficult to kind of make out exactly where we are. But so again, bottom line here, the model not showing anything concerning, but the fact that we looked at the atmosphere together will go to show that, it's not a zero chance, right? All right. Now, this is not as great of resolution for us because when we look a little farther out, the resolution isn't as good. But let's show you Monday. Not much here, right? This is Monday evening. There's not much. There's no triggering mechanism, right? So there's nothing to pop thunderstorms. But as we go into Monday evening, that's where we could end up, again, maybe seeing a few storms out west or northwest along that front and then moving in. It's not showing much, but again, the atmosphere is definitely primed. So just to reiterate, Sunday's a pretty low chance at this point for severe weather, but it's possible. Monday's a greater chance where it would develop to the west or northwest and then kind of move our way. And now let's look at Tuesday. And again, this resolution gets even worse because we're farther out. But I think this will, again, give us a good idea. This is the American model. And again, this is, let me just go back here. This is Sunday right here. Again, they're showing a little more in the way of thunderstorms coming through. So it's a possibility. Monday, they are pretty dry. And Tuesday, somewhat dry until Tuesday night. You see those storms there? I know it doesn't look very impressive. I think it's going to get higher resolution, obviously, as we get closer. So that's it. And then Wednesday, the front passes, and they're actually dry Wednesday. Let me jump over one more thing here. This is the European model. Can you see this? Let me adjust this here. All right, so you see where Wisconsin is, right? Let me show you the European model, too, because I think it's hooking onto this a little bit better. All right, Saturday night, some rain. Sunday morning, some scattered thunderstorms. That's pretty consistent, right? And then we go into Sunday afternoon and Sunday night, maybe a couple of thunderstorms coming through. Now Monday, oh look, nothing. Until maybe Monday night. This is 1 a.m. early Tuesday morning. So they actually develop storms on Monday night, which is interesting. So that could be more of a night event. And in fact, let me jump you back here real quick. Because one thing I also want to look at, and I won't belabor this too much, but we're looking at what's called a low-level jet stream here. And again, this model isn't great with it, but it is showing stronger winds at 5,000 feet. So that could be what we call low-level jet induced there for Monday night. And let's look, we're going to go into Tuesday now. Watch this. You ready? There's your Monday night. Boom. See Tuesday? They really line it up with strong storms on Tuesday. I think the European model is probably best at this point in terms of resolution on what's happening. And then look at Wednesday because they don't have the front crossing until Wednesday afternoon with another batch of severe weather. So, and then we're dry at that point. All right, look, I know I've covered a lot here, right? And again, thank you for sticking with me to the end. I just wanted to peel the layers back here. Now I'm just going to give you the summary, which maybe I should have done that up front, right? Summary is this. We're going to warm things up starting on Sunday. Warm Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and possibly into Wednesday, depending on the exact frontal timing. Chances for thunderstorms start Sunday. We'll even see some rain Saturday night, but a chance for thunderstorms Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, into parts of Wednesday. But those thunderstorm chances start low Sunday and Monday, given the lack of a triggering mechanism, even though the atmosphere is going to start to destabilize. Tuesday is the greatest risk because everything comes together with upper level winds, the jet stream, and we also have that system kicking in off the Rockies. So that's why everyone's focused on Tuesday. What are the hazards? Wind, hail, tornadoes, if everything comes together. But, I've heard from many of you saying, look, I'm really nervous about this. Don't buy into the hype right now in terms of this is going to be the worst ever. Let's just see how it goes. Because, a lot of times we are forecasting severe weather and it kind of fizzles out, right? So let's just wait and see. The lake may play a role too. We may cool down near the lake, and that may help to weaken storms potentially as well. We got to kind of wait and see on the smaller scale approaches here as well. So again, warm it up. late in the weekend into early next week, thunderstorm chances start to go up. Severe weather is a possibility, especially Tuesday, maybe into Wednesday, but can't rule out Sunday, Monday as well. All right. Well, was that long enough for you? Thanks again for sticking around. Really appreciate it. Have a great weekend. And as we always say, stay tuned for updates.